Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 4 of the Sigma Show. Before I let you guys know who is joining me, I mean, you can clearly see him, but we're just going to go over quickly what it is we'll be talking about on today's show. First up, we're going to be talking about the new Netflix series in development based on the Assassin's Creed series. We're going to address the latest Cyberpunk 2077 delay. And we're also going to talk about the fact that Control is going to be coming to Switch, but as a streaming service. So I think this has a bunch of interesting applications. We'll get into it later. But joining me today is, you love him, you know him, Mr. Blue Bones. Welcome back.
It's your boy. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me, Sigma.
No problem.
It's always a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
Yo, I gotta say, I didn't understand what your shirt was when we first got on camera until you leaned back, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is super dope."
It's the child.
The child. I'm so glad you
AKA
said
Baby
the child,
Yoda. I know you hate that.
AKA Baby Yoda. I know. I'll accept an AKA.
But let's jump right into things.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Netflix, I've said this in the past, like on the previous show we did, the BBET Gamescast. I've said that I thought that Netflix was taking the loss of the Disney properties and all the superhero media and stuff and trying to replace that with video games. Like, video games are a medium that's very popular. You know, there's a lot of money in those properties. They don't tend to get...
And it's on the rise right now.
It's continuously been on the rise since, you know, the boom in the 80s and stuff.
Most definitely.
The transition into a watchable medium hasn't always been a great one. There are pretty much across the board, all movies based on video games have been kind of panned, but some of the more popular ones still make a ton of money. So it's like, it doesn't really matter what the critical reception is. There's still money to be made, right? So
not just that.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. I'll let you finish. I was going to say, like, the good ones, most of them are on Netflix.
Well, like the good game, most of the movie good adaptations?
Movie and show adaptations.
Well, yeah, exactly, because they've kind of taken up that mantle. They're like, look, we can make money off of this regardless of whether it's good or not. But, you know, Netflix has a lot of money to throw around. They put people who kind of care about those projects, and you give them room to kind of do what they want with it, as opposed to like a 2-hour, 2.5-hour movie. And you start to get some decent stuff. So and we all know that there's already been an Assassin's Creed movie, right? Did you actually watch it? The Michael Fassbender starring one?
You know what? I wanted to, and most of my friends told me, like, look, if you like Assassin's Creed, don't watch this movie. So, and at the time, I was like more of a buff in the series. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to watch it. And I never got back around to checking it out. But I don't know. I saw some scenes and I'm like, this might be fun to watch.
That was my takeaway from that. Because it was actually one of the first movies I reviewed back when I was doing my lag discussion videos.
I think I remember.
If you search that out, you'll see some really wonky editing back then. But the information was still, I think, reasonable. Essentially,
the
movie looked fantastic. It looked just like Assassin's Creed. Like, they got the look right, the tone right. They got, you know, the art, they did the back and forth with, you know, there being the future techie stuff and the historical assassin stuff. And it really just brought to light the fact that the Assassin's Creed story kind of isn't that good. Like by itself, like left to be a non-interactive medium, it's kind of just not that interesting. Like, it's a cool concept, but the story isn't that good. And
it's funny. I think I remember you saying that in your lag video, that it just tells you that some stories are for playing,
right?
And some stories are for viewing.
Yeah, like, because that's the bulk of the experience for a game is the interactivity, and story is kind of, if not half the product, it's the lesser half of the product. You know, like it's an afterthought in a lot of cases because you want the gameplay to be king. But in a movie or a TV show, the story is what matters. Like, the cinematography, everything else is kind of secondary to the fact that there's a core good narrative going on. And Assassin's Creed lacks that. I still think it's a strong premise. So it does exist a possibility that you can get a really good Assassin's Creed story. They just kind of have to stay away from the plot that the games were going with. And that's kind of where I think the movie misstepped, you know, because it didn't follow one for one with like the Desmond Miles situation. Michael
Right.
Fassbender played a different character, but it was still the same beats. Like he was a guy who Abstergo kind of kidnapped or found, and he
Hmm.
had something that they were looking for in his ancestry, and blah 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 blah. Like it was the same exact plot points, just different characters who were going through it.
Got you. Yeah.
So I love the concept of reliving history, the fact that there's this
History.
ancient order that's been beefing since the dawn of time, and that there's all these world secrets. Like there's a lot of stuff to dig into with all of that concept.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, what I don't think how many details have we gotten about the actual show? Like, do we know who's maybe running it or?
So on their tweet, they said Netflix will be developing an Assassin's Creed live action series. Ubisoft's Jason Altman and Danielle Krennic will serve as executive producers.
Okay, so those are
So
Ubisoft execs.
yeah, yeah, that's what it sounded
So
like.
at least people who are
Um,
familiar with the franchise will be there. But to be honest, in this particular case, I'm more concerned
that
about who's the creative people coming in, not the people who are from the Assassin's Creed
exactly.
world.
On top of that, I haven't seen any more information on this
Yeah, this does seem
series,
to be
and
just an announcement rather than.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll have a trailer in the near future, but I'm willing to bet maybe they haven't even started production yet. Like maybe they want to try to gauge interest, knowing that there
hmm
is a bad movie that has existed, and maybe some people would be lukewarm on a reception of another non-video game entry in the brand. But I don't know. I'm actually excited, like because I think Netflix, like you said, has done justice to some of the other video game properties they've gotten a hold of. Not all,
I feel like
but
yeah, not all, definitely not all, but they've had the most success of the other streaming services and studios that I've seen recently. So if anybody's gonna do it right now, I think it's gonna be Netflix. I would love to see HBO take a shot at
yeah,
it
that
because
wouldn't be
that
bad
would
either.
be
Yeah, HBO
amazing.
almost never makes a
But
bad original series.
it's really hard to find something that like you can find something on HBO that's not for you, but you can see the quality in it still. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, but anyway, yeah, I think Netflix has this. It's they have the best chance of making this a good series, and kind of revitalizing the Assassin's Creed fandom.
I mean, so are you saying that you feel like the Assassin's Creed fandom is in sort of a downturn? Do they need something like this to spark it up, you think?
Um, I guess I should say inspire more people to be Assassin's Creed fans. I don't know if they need a pickup necessarily. I heard Odyssey was not. I heard Odyssey was good, but it wasn't a good sequel
Origins?
to Origins. Now that being said, you got Valhalla coming out, and there's a lot of hype
Yeah,
for
people seem
that.
excited about
But
that.
then again, we're yeah, but when you're looking at the gameplay, it's also looking back like Odyssey. So we're trying to see, are they just slapping skins on things, or are they do a revolutionary gameplay? So this game and this show should keep the fire under
Like, just keep it relevant in
the
general.
Assassin's Creed fans. Exactly,
All right,
yeah.
and I just want
I
to
think it's a good safety net.
Pizza PZ the one chimes in and says, "I felt that the past live
Hey,
stories were more interesting than the actual main plot. I agree, good concept, but the plot is flat."
what's going on,
And
BZ? What's up,
yeah,
Superman Jeff?
Jeff chimes in as well. Says, "No, they don't. The last two have been great." So he's disagreeing with your statements on Odyssey being a lesser of Origins, and whatnot. And I do think I've heard both sides of that. Like some people have been like, "Oh, I really loved uh, Odyssey," and some people are like, "It was a little lesser than what I wanted." So I mean, if it is a mixed reception, like there are people who like it, people who don't like
Hmm.
it. If you can get like kind of a big smash hit, it doesn't matter. Like that does put a fire on the thing, like you're saying.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense. I will say
Yeah.
on Assassin's Creed that I'm a super big fan of the game series up until it kind of ran itself to a wall with the yearly sequels, and I
Yeah.
like that they revitalized it with Origins, but I still never kind of got the spark back. Like I own those games, but I just never got the spark back to go and play it.
I
If an
feel you.
Assassin's Creed series comes out that is very very good, I guarantee you I'll be playing that game because that's exactly what happened with The Witcher.
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
I
Yep.
had The Witcher in the queue, like it was on Game Pass. Like I've been meaning to try it out for a little bit, as soon as that show came out and I was like really into the story, I booted up The Witcher, started playing The Witcher. Granted, I didn't stay with The Witcher for super long, but only because
Same
like
here.
I liked what was going on in the game. It's just too long. Like I'm like, okay, there's a lot happening here. I got other stuff to play. I kind of put it back down. But I do feel like exactly what you're saying. Like good media outside of the core media will drag people back to it. So that's probably what
Exactly.
the intent is here.
And not even just back to it, you're gonna inspire new fans too.
True.
Like just your example with The Witcher, there's lots of people who've never even heard of The Witcher until it dropped on Netflix, right? And then now, even if they're not fans of the video game, they're still fans of the series and the stories, and that's that fandom expansion that you will most likely see from a Assassin's Creed series here on Netflix.
All right, Jeff singing the praise of Origins says Origins definitely fixes a lot. I'm telling you, play it and it'll bring you back. I played Origins and all the DLC. The only game I beat on current gen that's that long. All right, ringing
Okay,
endorsement.
I'm feeling it, man.
And PZ
Yeah,
the one says in the case with The Witcher, the game series is more popular than the books. That is true. The game
yeah.
series kind of revitalized the books for the author, and there's a whole story about that author and the company and the licensing and stuff. But we'll move off of that unless you have anything else on Netflix and Assassin's Creed.
No, man. No. Let's keep it going. We're still talking about Netflix though, right?
Are we?
Yeah, because they are raising
Oh,
their
right,
value,
right, right, right,
their
right.
prices. Yeah,
So
man.
this is the second time Netflix is raising its prices since the company's been created.
In- Incepted.
I know it's $1 increase for the standard plan, and then what, $4 for the premium? Is that correct?
So I'm gonna read what IGN
Okay.
wrote. They said the two stream HD standard plan will increase from $12.99 to $13.99, while the four stream 4K premium plan is raising from $15.99 to $17.99. So that's going to be a $2 increase right there. The one stream SD plan will remain priced at $8.99 a month. So if you got the $8.99, that's not changing. But if you got the HD 2 or 4 stream, those are going up. The 4 stream's going up by $2, and the 2 stream going up by one.
Gotcha. Okay. So what is your immediate reaction to Netflix raising its prices? Because
I think they deserve it.
okay.
They've been there's so many shows. I was talking to my fiance about this just yesterday, and I was like, how many shows do we love to watch that is only on Netflix? And then how many new things do we find on Netflix that are it's just there? Anime, Great Pretenders, Dora Hedoro. I had Netflix open. I was before the show, and I was kind of just scrolling through, like, man, all these series. A lot of them I don't know. A lot of them I don't like. A lot of them are super
Hmm.
popular, and people are enjoying these. And they've been enjoying these for such a long time. The last time they increased the price was it last year in January. They've put out so much this year. I think they deserve a raise. I'm not gonna lie. And if I want them to continue to put out stuff like this, Netflix is known to have big budget sets.
They spend a lot of money.
I need to
Yeah.
help that.
Yeah.
So if I want that same quality coming in the next year, yeah, I'll pay a
Yeah.
little bit
Jeff and
more.
Lampy are basically co-signing what you're saying that's because of all the money they put into original content, and Netflix is
Yep.
actually hemorrhaging money when you look at their cash flow because of all that original content. So I kind of want to agree with you in the sense that
Hmm.
yes, they make a lot of original stuff. They spend a lot of money on it. So why not, you know, ask a little bit more to kind of cover the cost of the stuff they're making, right? But I have to say,
Hmm.
like, why does it always have to come from the consumer? Because
I hear you. Now, do we know that it only comes from us?
I mean, no, I get
Maybe
yeah,
they're doing
but
some.
that's another thing. Like Netflix is very secretive about kind of what their shows cost. Like this is people can look at the quality of thing and be like, oh, that must have cost a lot of money. But Netflix does
Mhm.
not diverge the cost of like anything. They don't know. They don't tell people kind of how many folks are tuning into shows. They don't tell people how much shows cost to make. Uh, every now and then you'll hear how much like a comedian got paid to do a special, and those are absurd
Yeah.
amounts of money, honestly. For those,
Yep.
so if they're giving that much money to like one headliner, you can kind of imagine how much money they're giving to like a full project, maybe.
I so I'm from LA. I have some contacts out there, and I know some people that they don't know the specifics of how much these sets are costing, but they say it's insane amounts of money.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like that's all I can say. They say that, but I feel like it does show in the production quality that you're seeing with all these different originals. But at the end of the day, if we don't see a number, we don't know for sure. You know what I mean?
And Lampy brings up a really good point. Because Netflix doesn't have adverts, they only have their subscriber revenue. It doesn't fit the studio model. Spend X and get Y
Hmm.
in ticket sales because the subscribers are already signed up. Now, I think you can look at that in two ways. Because yes, they don't get an immediate cash flow influx from every new thing that they release. So like it's not like they make their money back and then make excess of what they spent because people are buying into it. But because they
They
have such a
just
big subscriber base who are all paying an amount of money, they have a constant stream of revenue. So whether they're releasing a brand new thing that costs a bunch of money or not, they have a steady flow of income.
they're gonna
So
get that
it
money.
does actually come down to how Netflix uses the money. And it's either they're not spending
And
it efficiently in the sense like they're kind of overspending versus what they want. So now they're trying to recoup the cost from the customers, or maybe they would have to do the thing that I guess we all don't want them to do, which is maybe cut back a little bit on the expenses for the content they make, right? Or maybe broker a
I
couple more deals
yeah
with other people and get their content so that they're not the ones shelling out money for it.
yeah. All that shrouded in mystery, and it's hard to
Right.
see it. So I can understand why you'd be cautious about getting excited about something like this. Or I wouldn't even say people are excited, but or I'd say deem this a worthy increase. I can see why you'd be cautious to do that. Um, because you're right, we don't know how they're spending it. They could be on the ropes, they could be just fine. Um, it's really
Yeah, it's like we kind of
yeah.
have to trust this massive company.
I think what Netflix has to do, and I think what they are doing is at the base level, I should say at the surface level, they're proving to their customers of many different genres we're worth this. You know what I mean? At the surface, that's what they need you to see. That's what they want you to see. We're worth this. Hey, if you like this kind of genre, we got it. If you like this kind of, we got it. And it's only here. If it's old stuff, I watch Arrested Development on a regular
As you
basis,
should.
right? I don't know exactly, right? I don't know any other platform where I can watch that comfortably, you know? That's legal. um and that's a valuable service to me. It helps me concentrate, and that's just one show, and I can go on and on.
So for
But
you, unequivocally, it's worth it. Like you felt like you've been getting more than your money's worth so far. So for them to raise it by a buck for the standard plan, what is it, $2-3 for the premium
two
plan?
for the
It's
four.
more than reasonable.
And get this, not just that, right? It's $2 for me and my
Right? Yeah.
family
Because
because
that.
my mom is on
Yeah.
there.
You're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got so I guess just like you said, I have the four streams, so it's not just me enjoying this. When my mom is saying, "Yo, did you watch Tiger King?" I'm like, "Okay, hold on, let me get on there," because that's only on Netflix. It's worth the $2 for me
Makes sense.
to keep that going.
All
Yeah.
right. So yeah, I
So
agree.
on
Like it
the
doesn't
service,
seem. It's not like an unreasonable price hike either.
yeah, I just hope they're not exploiting us, like you're saying. But right now, I don't feel exploited by the two
The only thing is like I've
dollars.
never been a fan or fully understood really the concept of inflation. Like
Oh,
it's a made up thing,
so
right? Like all money is a
let's
concept. So for you to say like the price of things just go up over time means that no, people just get greedier over time, right? Like isn't that what that
yeah,
means?
no, you're right.
So like if you're doing a good service and like
Can we stop?
like Netflix is making tons of money. They like as far as I'm aware, and granted, I'm not the most knowledgeable of their financial situation. Netflix is doing okay, right? Like Disney Plus launched, they people were scared, but they kind of didn't get phased by it. I feel like nobody that I know
They
at least.
recouped.
So this is a colloquial statement. Nobody that I know canceled Netflix to get Disney Plus. And if they did do that at this point, I'm sure they went back.
right back as soon as Tiger King dropped, because
Right? Yeah, like it's
they
like pretty
wanted
much
to see
everything that
that.
launches on Netflix becomes part of like the cultural
Yeah,
conversation and
phenomenal.
stuff. So like I think
Hmm.
Netflix is still the king. Like Disney Plus was a pretty strong contender. Hulu's a very strong contender. I feel like people don't really give Hulu a
Very
lot of
strong.
credit, but in my mind, Hulu's number two to Netflix.
Um, yeah, and that's only because HBO doesn't have the wide library that both of those
Mhm.
have. Because if HBO had a wider library, HBO's definitely number two for
Well, I
me.
mean, I don't really count HBO because they kind of came into the streaming service, but they're a cable premium channel. So like that's how I still see them as that primarily. Like HBO Go and HBO Now and Max,
Max,
yeah.
maybe. I need
But
to.
I guess that's them trying to rebrand and be like, look, this is just a streaming thing now. Because I guess a
I
ton of
love
people are
it,
leaving
man.
cable, so yeah, they're trying to redress it as we are another one of these streaming things. So that's fair. But even so, like just like you were saying, I don't go to HBO Max every day to keep up with stuff that I'm watching. I do that with Netflix.
Exactly.
Like the way I used to just
Yeah,
leave my TV on either CNN or Cartoon Network or whatever. Like
exactly.
I'm going to
Hmm.
Netflix, and my son is
Yep.
going to Netflix. He just started watching
Yep.
Craig of the Creek on because that's
Oh,
all on Netflix.
wonderful.
You know, I love that show. So like that's kind of
Yeah.
that's my go-to. Like, and I think they are number one. So I, in my heart, I don't feel like they have to raise their prices, even if they could, maybe they can, like they can't afford to because of all the value in there. They can afford to do it. I still think it's not necessarily good. Like we're in the middle of a pandemic, you know, like an extra dollar doesn't
That
hurt you or
that's
me, but maybe it does somebody else. Like they didn't have to do this.
I hear
It's just
you.
what's in the back of my mind. So I get where you guys are coming from. Like I don't care. I'll pay it. Like they have all sorts of great stuff. I still feel like they didn't have to do this.
I hear that. And one thing to consider, and this is not to counter your point, but one thing to consider is I think that we need streaming services more now that we're in a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. You know what I mean? We need, because more people are at home on a regular
True.
basis. So, like I said, this is not to counter your point. I just think it's another factor that maybe Netflix is feeling a pressure to produce more
Makes sense.
quickly and keep the same quality. That might be what's going on. But yeah, they got shmoney. I think they
Real quick, I'll
can.
just go over some of the
Yeah.
stuff that chat's been throwing in. Lampy says Hulu isn't
What are
that
we
strong contender.
saying?
Doesn't exist outside the U.S. I didn't actually know that.
Oh,
So that's interesting. And then Lampy
yep.
also adds that Hulu is a part of Disney, which is true. Yeah, Disney
Disney,
does
that's
own
true.
Hulu, so
Yep.
they are kind of friends in that sense.
They got that ESPN, Hulu, National
Yeah, I
Geographic.
think that is also
All
wrapped
of
in
them.
there.
Yeah.
And Jeff
Yeah.
is saying, I feel like Hulu is very seasonal. Summertime till fall doesn't have much.
And you know what? That about Hulu, because Hulu keeps up more with current shows.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah, that's
is
kind of
a
its
lot
strength
of
over
where
Netflix. Yeah.
Hulu's value is. Yeah. And that's a really good point that Jeff brought up.
And Kevin Movie says, solution to the price hike: just share your account with a friend and split the difference. I mean, that's assuming you're not already doing that, which pretty much everybody is.
I think a lot of people
It's like,
are.
you know what, let's add a third person. Then it's like, oh, you can't watch my
Let me
show
tell you
because
something.
this guy is watching America's Next Top
If
Model.
you got a Netflix account and you don't have all your profiles filled out, you need to find some friends. You need to find some
So friends with
friends.
money though, so they can
True.
pay you
Yeah.
back.
Or you know what? Friends with money or somebody that you can help out.
Yeah,
You know what I
if
mean?
yeah, you want to be like Pizzo says, a community account. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, man.
All right, anything else on the price hike?
No, I think that's about it. We covered every point.
Alrighty, let's move on to another Cyberpunk 2077 delay. Granted, only about 2 weeks this go around. It's being pushed to December 10th, December
3.
3rd.
It's 21
Okay, so
days.
21 days. That's a little more than 2 weeks actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's 3
Immediate reaction.
exactly. Cool. Make it good. They've delayed it before. I felt like it's because they wanted to make it right and they were dealing with COVID stuff. Um, and then I was like, okay, they're doing it again. They're not afraid to tell people, hey, we really actually want to get this right. That was my immediate reaction. Um, you know, yeah, that's what I got. What about you?
Mine was kind of more on the that's really funny because it's a
Yeah.
meme now in the sense that CD Projekt Red keeps pushing this game back, and that the last information they had to share with us about it was that it went gold, which we now know in
Mm,
this day and age doesn't mean anything. Like gold used to
yeah.
mean they press discs, like there's a physical finished game, and this is what's going to go out to retailers, and that's what you're going to get, on the release day, right? Doesn't mean anything because everything's
Yeah.
digital. There's always a day one patch or a day zero patch in this case or whatnot. So for
Yeah.
them to say we're done with the game was already kind of funny, and then to turn around and say, we're gonna delay it one more time. If one more time is that, I just thought it was hilarious. But
Yeah, I can see that.
some other people's reaction to this news is more
Son,
concerning.
to say the least. Okay, if any of y'all listening today thinks that people need to die over this, check yourself. Check yourself. Think
I
about it.
can't fathom how that's like. How does that come out of your mouth, your brain?
Let's clarify for the people what we
Right.
talking
So
about.
after this delay, a lot of toxic gamers sent messages directly to developers of Cyberpunk, basically saying things like, if you don't release this game, I'm going to burn your house down. I'm going to, come for your kids or whatever. Like, how dare you? Like, how entitled, how much of a, I don't
Yo, let me tell you
understand this
something.
mindset. It's completely foreign to me.
If I make dinner, right? If I'm making dinner and I'm trying to finish it up, and my lady says, "Yo, if you don't finish that and give it to me right now, I'm gonna burn this house down." I'm gonna be like, "Yo, I was making this for you. Like, hold on, I'm trying to make it right. This didn't happen before." You know what I
Like,
mean?
you didn't
Like,
even know that you wanted this until we started working on it. And now all of a
so
sudden you got
let
all
me
these
do
demands
it
of
right.
me. Like, I don't owe you anything. Like, the game
No,
developers don't owe you anything. Like, I hope people
not a thing.
who, I hope someone sees this. Someone who, because I know the regular people who are in our chat probably don't feel this way. Like, you guys are golden, right? But I hope someone who just doesn't understand why that's a bad thing sees this and can listen to these words. Game developers don't owe you anything. Like, what the hell did
Not
you
one
do
thing.
to deserve anything that they make? You paid money for it? It's not out yet. You didn't even buy the product.
Yo,
Like,
like you didn't know, just like you said, you didn't know you wanted this until I started doing something. And you don't know what you want because it's not done.
right, like this, like no one has, like, no game journalist or whatnot has reviewed this game. Like, there are no impressions on the actual finished product. So I understand people being excited for a thing that they want to get their hands on, but you don't know what this
Yeah,
game is
yeah.
yet. Like, there's still a possibility, however slim in your mind, there's still a possibility that this game comes out and is an absolute dud. Like, you may be absolutely
Hey,
disappointed in everything that Cyberpunk 2077 is.
check this out. Check this out. Regardless of all of that, none of it's worth someone's life or their home.
Right.
Or
Because
you know what I'm saying?
at the end of the day, like, you're playing video games, bro.
Like, yo, just TP the man's house and just run
No,
away.
not even.
Okay,
Like,
just
even that's
relax.
going too far. Like, how dare you think you have the
It
right
really
to
is.
throw toilet paper on somebody's roof because you're dissatisfied with a video game? Like, grow the hell up. Like, literally.
You're right. But I mean, I would say that's the best infantile
I
reaction.
mean, no, honestly, the best reaction is to voice your disappointment. Like, if it really upsets you, like,
Yeah.
because there are some people who I know, like, colleagues I know, not just kids or, immature people, whatever, like, colleagues that I know who are like, oh, I actually took time off my other jobs so I could give this, my full attention and whatnot. And that's something you
Yeah,
have to
like
plan
I
in
planned
advance. With them shifting the date, that screws that up for you. But it's a video game,
let them know.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
either way, you still got 2 weeks off work. Play something else. Like, if you can't move
Yeah.
it, if you absolutely can't move it, play something else. You'll get your time to play Cyberpunk at some point. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, get over yourself. Like, there's this. It goes way, the
Entitlement.
sense of entitlement, it goes back so far with gamers, and I fail to understand where it comes from. Like, who are these kids? Why do they
You,
think that creators owe them anything for their love and
bro,
admiration and whatnot? Like, you're the fan. Like, you're looking, like,
bro,
you look up to,
you know where this entitlement comes from.
like put this in any other context. You're a fan of a
You know where
baseball
this
player, a
entitlement comes
basketball
from.
player.
And they do the same
They
thing.
they strike out at the bat.
And they threaten
You know
to
what?
kill
You're
these
absolutely
people.
right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely
I'm
right.
saying you know exactly who these entitled people
Oh
are.
my god. Lampy says, if people really feel that entitled to want the game finished, learn the required skills, apply for a job, and help them finish it. That's a good
Yes.
idea. Like, put your money where
Very
your
good
mouth
point.
is.
Do it yourself.
Like, do something about it
Mm-hmm.
then. Not something stupid, something that makes sense. Because, like, there are a lot of people who will do something about it, and it's something stupid. There's too many stupid people in the world. This is a whole other, it's a whole entire other conversation. But that's part of the problem. There are way too many stupid people on the planet, and they're the ones who do stuff like this.
They're loud. They're loud. And this is a thing too, right? This is what kills me. It's not just one dude. It's not just, one girl freaking out. These are multiple people.
I get that they're probably a vocal minority. Like, in the grand scheme of the whole community, they are probably a small percentage. But just like you're saying, it's not one or two people. There's a group of them. However small they are, there's a group. There's a collection of idiots
And they're
who
dangerous.
condone this kind of nonsense and who do this kind of nonsense. Some people are like, it's just idle threats. Oh, it's just a joke. No, you're not funny, dude. Like, you don't, like, there's a reason that there was a stereotype about gamers being socially awkward and weird and standoffish. Is because there are people like that, people who just don't know how to interact with the rest of society. And I don't know how to solve that problem, because I love the video game community. Like, I love people who love video games, right? And some of them need to know that there's a right way and a wrong way to interact with things that aren't video games, like other people.
Bro, you're hitting the nail on the head already, and you don't even know it, right? It's video game community. That's what we're doing here. That's what we do in the open party. We're trying to reach out to people that are nerds like us and be sociable and have this good, positive, fun, healthy, safe community.
Right, exactly.
We don't want to, what I'm saying? We want to spread the message of don't do death threats. You know what I mean? That's one of the things we do. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here. We're spreading the positive message. We're building that community. We're solving that problem slowly but surely.
Right. So if you want a cool community,
That's where we at,
definitely
bro.
jump in that open party
Boom.
Discord. Because we're for the people,
See that?
apparently.
That
But I do
pun?
want to bring attention to Lampy's comment. It says, I really hope the devs put a feature in there where if it finds their gamer tag, it just won't let them play the game. Yes. Anyone
that'd
stupid
be
enough
amazing.
to threaten a dev, you don't deserve it. Like, punish them immediately. Like, this isn't for you. Like, what are you doing? Like, if you think this is how you ask for, like, I do this with my son all the time. Like, if he's like really rude or like really whiny or something about wanting a thing,
Yeah.
I'm like, that if you cry to me about it, or if you are rude about it, you're never gonna get that thing. I'm never gonna give you this thing now. Like, you need to change your entire attitude when you ask someone for a thing, because that's you humbling
So, yeah,
yourself
right.
to make a request. And I'd be more than happy to give you the thing you want, because I love you, son. Like, just like devs
Yeah.
love their fans. Like, they're creators.
Yeah.
They want people to play and see and enjoy the thing that they made. Like,
They didn't just make this
Yes.
for them, bro. If they made it for them, they wouldn't even tell you
like
about
they
it.
want you to play this game as soon as possible, but they want it to work right. They want it to function for all the platforms that it's on. So, like, whatever excuse you have to feel disappointed about this delay, they're more disappointed. Like, they're the ones who feel like the worst. They're the ones who are still working on it. Like, with all the crunch and stuff, conversations happening. Like, we know that that's an issue in and of itself, aside from that, but you want to sit here and be mad that they pushed it back a couple days. Like, grow up. That's the end of that. That's the end of that path. That story.
Grow up.
Grow up. Like, I'm sick of hearing these stories. Like, it's really disheartening.
No, you're right. The last one was The Last of Us 2.
Right. Yeah.
People were
They
threatening
didn't like
the
a plot point in the story,
voice
and
actors.
they went after voice actors as if First of all,
Like, yo, that's a whole nother. I don't know if you got time for all
yeah,
that.
like yeah. Matter of fact, we'll skip over that. We won't go.
My man.
We won't go down it.
I heard the first of all. I was like, oh no, my man.
So we'll move on. Let me just check the chat real quick before we move on.
Ooh, let's catch up.
Jeff says people need to be tracked because they're at risk of committing acts of violence. That's true. Like for all the idle threats, there's always someone who takes it too far, and like that makes all of them dangerous. Like you have to pay attention to all of them. And like he says, basically, you have the right to enjoy my art. I 100% agree with that.
No, you lost the right to enjoy my art. That's what.
Right, like you
wants
get belligerent about it. None for you. I'm the Nazi soup guy from Seinfeld. But we'll move on from that into our final topic. Recently, Control has been announced as coming to Switch, but in an interesting way, because Control is a very resource-heavy game. Switch can't run that bad boy. But no, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish the intro. I'm gonna tell you because I was laughing when I was reading this, especially the update.
So Control is coming to Switch, but it's a special streaming version. So you will need a constant internet connection, but you'll be able to play the entirety of Control on your Switch. There's another game that just did this, Hitman
3, I think.
Hitman 3 is also doing this.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 7 actually did this exclusively in Japan a couple months back. Yeah. So I honestly feel like this is a path that Nintendo is looking at to compensate for the lack of, hardware power that their consoles have had over the years. So I mean, what is your take on this pathway for them?
So at first, right, I was like, man, Nintendo can't handle no kind of internet connections in general. Right? And I hate Nintendo servers. But then I read further down in the article, right? And they said, oh, it's not going to be Nintendo servers. Don't worry about it. It's going to be Ubisoft servers who handle Nintendo servers.
Oh, so it's like the parent is the company that Nintendo contracts with.
Yeah, so it's the same people.
Yeah, it's the same network.
Just the office down the hall. So I have very little faith that this is going to be an enjoyable experience, to be honest with you. You see all the time, Switch has the connections just don't hold up for long periods of time. And if you're trying to play a game like Control that's very dynamic, let alone we're doing the streaming thing, so it's not even the hardware of the Switch, but the fact that you have to pull all that data down.
Well, it's only video data that they're pulling.
It's only video data, but then your inputs are going just the
inputs would be going out, which in and of itself, Nintendo has had an issue with input, lag for games that aren't streaming, for just games that exist online.
And then you gotta pull the video back.
So yeah, it doesn't seem like Nintendo's the best place for this, but there have been rumors circulating about a Switch Pro coming. Like, it's been going on for a long time. They've only strengthened over time.
Oh, that's true.
So
that's true.
I do think there's a possibility that if Nintendo's like, look, we're not going to be able to compete with the sheer power of a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, but what we can do is boost up the Switch hardware just enough that it handles streaming better and just makes streaming the path to just getting access to all those third-party games that you could never run on Switch. I do think it's a viable option in that sense. The only issue, again, is, like you're saying, it does have to work over internet. Nintendo has to get serious about internet connectivity.
100%. I think I agree with your point. It's a good strategy for them. And when we look at what they got right now, they got, they don't have a lot to work with. And I think that's the problem when we're talking about the servers and how their online services work. So unless they boost that up, I don't think this is going to work at all. None of the streaming stuff is going to work unless people can actually use it.
Well, I mean, we do have previous examples. Like Lampy's making a note, says that that these aren't the first games to do that. That there have actually been a few others than the ones that we've mentioned, and they've been doing it for a while. Mm-hmm. So what I do want to do is kind of look up what the reception has been of the service thus far. Did Resident Evil 7 work? Did whatever
Yeah.
those previous games work. Like, were people satisfied with that experience? Because I do think, like, in people's mind, the streaming thing seems way more futuristic than it is. Like, the tech exists and it works. Like, it works on Microsoft xCloud. It works on Google Stadia. Uh, Nvidia has a version of it working. Who else? Amazon, they just launched theirs. Like, the technology works
True.
and it feels okay. Okay to good right now. Like, maybe not perfect, but it's very much playable over a lot of different genres and whatnot. So I don't think it's that far fetched that Nintendo can have this as an option. But yeah, I just do worry about the sustainability because like they've cared so little about the internet in the past. Like, they always do the bare minimum. At this point, we've had like what, 2 or 3 generational consoles that have been internet dependent. Maybe 2, maybe
Hmm.
not 3. We've had at least 2 generational consoles that have relied heavily on internet activity. We're going into a third one. At this point, Nintendo should at least have the bare minimum connectivity down. You know, like they drag their feet to just make it as cheap as possible for them to develop. At this point, it's got to at least be able to stream games, especially if they're going to make you pay for them. Because that's something I didn't
I
find in
hope
the article.
so.
Like, are you paying a full $60 for a streaming only version of Control?
It doesn't. I don't see anything saying otherwise. The demo is available right now on the Switch
We should try
store.
that out.
But yeah. I think we should. I think we should download that. See what that's gonna look like. Now, um, I was looking at the chat and Lampy brought up something interesting. She said they said there is a big difference between control sync for multiplayer and for single player. It's much easier to do single player sync. Now, I can see that. I think that's a valid point. But if this is the path that they're gonna go down, I think all of their games are gonna have to be single player. If they're not gonna do
I don't think
anything
that's far fetched either, though. That Nintendo would only focus on, uh,
single
yeah,
player
for this
for
streaming stuff.
streaming,
Because
oof, I don't
I
like
mean,
that.
Nintendo's idea of multiplayer has always been couch co-op, like local play.
Couch
Like,
co-op,
even in
yep.
this day and age, they don't seem to understand that people want to connect over the internet. Like, they don't focus on it as much. So if they can at least get you a Control, get you a Cyberpunk, get you, uh, you know, big blockbuster AAA games that are using all this fancy ray tracing and environmental destruction and stuff on your handheld Switch, they'll probably be like, job well done. Like,
Because
they don't need they don't need Call of Duty
we
on
don't
there.
care about the online
And
multiplayer.
honestly,
Oh my
a lot of
god.
companies I think nowadays are separating those experiences from one another. Like, Call of Duty is going to departmentalize all of its modes. Like, the single player is going to be a different thing from the multiplayer is going to be a different thing from the battle royale mode. You know, Nintendo could be like,
That's so
pay
weird,
us
man.
twenty
It's different.
bucks for just a single player Call of Duty campaign on the streaming service, and like, because you're not gonna play Call of Duty multiplayer on a Switch. What are you, nuts? No one's doing that.
I mean, well, they would want you to, right? That would
I don't think Nintendo, because like, when was the last time a Call of Duty even ran on a Nintendo console?
was it I want no, it wasn't a Modern Warfare, was it?
I couldn't tell you. Like, that's how long it's been.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna look at that. I can't
Lampy
spell
is saying
call.
it was the Wii. DJ's also saying it was Wii.
Yeah,
And even,
oh, I think the Nintendo DS had one too. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
I'm not even gonna acknowledge that as existed, because what I wanted
Son,
to say, what I wanted to say was that the last one that was on Nintendo's console, I remember being a much lesser or downgraded version of a Call. Like, they had to make a lot of concessions to make that game fit, and it was a much worse
yeah.
game.
Oh,
Right.
100%. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna vouch that it was viable. He showed up though. He signed his name on the paper.
DJ says it was trash. So, confirmation from DJ, man who played
Yeah.
it. So yeah, like, because at the rate Nintendo's going, like, if they don't go this route, at this rate they
Yeah.
will once again only have first party games to prop them up. Like, that and indies actually this go around, because that has been a big boon for the Switch, right?
True,
And
true.
I I I don't think you can. I don't think you can win a console, and not to say that Nintendo's in that same running. They kind of are on their own path. but like you're not gonna do as great as you want to if you're lacking in third parties. Like Nintendo has had this hurdle so many times. Every single time they get a little too innovative, move a little too far outside the box, or just ignore the power needs of like the other developers, they just fall behind. Like they get crappy ports
Yeah.
or they get nothing. And oftentimes you just get nothing. Like that's what devs have resigned themselves to, just ignoring the Switch entirely.
I remember I bought, what was it, Ghost Recon
Mm-hmm.
on the DS, and I was expecting something completely different. That one hurt my soul, man. That one, that
Like
one
it's a
hurt
story
my
that
soul.
keeps repeating itself because like if Nintendo doesn't want to go the power route, they have to find another way to appease developers. This makes sense. Like it's kind of the only option. I can't think of anything else they could do other than say, all right, forget all this blue ocean for the people, for the family type nonsense. This is the Nintendo Extreme. 30,000 teraflops.
It's a big console, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
just
not portable at all.
like it can be portable. Like
Or
we'll
it's
put
got wheels
backpack
on
straps
it.
on it for you if you want to like take it around.
Backpack strap, like the Meebo stuff.
The
Yo,
game
they're
pyramid
innovative as
is
heck,
just
though.
a massive structure. Like that, because those are all
Was
the
it
options,
in
right?
South Park,
Build a
the
brand new super
Okama
strong
Game Sphere?
system, or look at streaming.
Yeah. So I'll say do both. Get the Nintendo Pro, the Switch
Mhm.
Pro, and go Switch then, or go online streaming. Um, and you'd have to focus on single player. Don't even
Yeah, it
try
makes the most sense, and
this
I think they can skate by like that. Like we all know Nintendo kind of gets
one.
by doing the bare minimum a lot of times because they do have the very
Fun.
strong first party games to prop them up, but it can't be, they can't do all the work. Like
Yo, every time and technology tries to smack Nintendo says nostalgia. You know what I mean? Like
the big old shield with nostalgia written on it.
big old shield, and all of us come up like, yeah, we stand with Nintendo
Every time, you're
every
right.
time. I don't know what. Yeah, son.
So
Why am I about to buy this Super Mario 3D, whatever it's called, that has a time limit on it just because I want to play
I
Super
mean,
Mario Sunshine?
I
Why am I
I
about to
bought it
do
for my
that?
kid.
Right? But nostalgia is what really pulled that in. You know what I mean? And that's what's happening. I feel like we are Nintendo's shield to be doing wild
Yeah,
stuff.
it is us. Like we're the ones who let Nintendo get away with murder again and again.
Yeah,
I don't know how to stop it. but
it
but
hurts, man.
Lampy says here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize cloud and IT
Mhm.
have been doing full PC streaming for about 4 years now for graphics artists. It's not a new technology, and that makes sense. That's why it's so viable now because it's not a new technology. It's something that
Yeah.
industrial folks have been using. Usually that gets trickled down to consumers eventually, like once it becomes cheap enough to be in the household or cheap enough to be used at scale, like the kind of scale that a game company would want it to be used at. So
Mm-hmm.
I mark my words, this is the path Nintendo's going to choose. Like if they do release a Switch Pro, whatever they end up calling that, or some kind of sequel to the
They
Switch,
streaming.
streaming I think is going to be one of the big highlights that they make a lot of noise about because they
Yeah.
want you to know you can play other stuff that wouldn't normally run on this. So buy one. And it's a good argument.
And you're gonna save a lot of memory space. You're gonna save a lot of memory space because right now I still need to get another micro SD for my Switch because I only got like 3-4 games I'm switching out. It's a pain.
Right.
Um,
There's a good case for it.
yeah.
Xbox Game Pass on
Yeah.
Switch? I don't know. People were talking about that possibility some time ago. Honestly, Microsoft has been super friendly with them, but I don't think they'd go that far. Like what's in it for them? Like if they didn't have the streaming service that lets you use like your phone or your tablet or whatever, I'd think that'd be more viable because then they'd be like, sure, this is a way you can
On the go.
experience our stuff on the go, and people who have those options can play on the go. But in this case,
Everybody who got a Switch got a phone.
right, yeah, they don't need to dilute their market share that much, and it more likely to happen working on iPhone, more likely to happen than
And
it
Apple.
working on iPhone and Apple. Yeah, because Apple don't want to hear none of that streaming business.
Not a thing.
But do we have anything else on the streaming stuff for the Nintendo Switch?
No, I think we kind of covered what we think a viable strategy for Nintendo would be.
All right.
And yeah,
So I think that
we
pretty
let
much
them
does
away
it for
with it.
today's episode of the Sigma Show. Thank you everybody who came
Cool.
through and joined in on the discussion. We really appreciate that. Make sure to follow this guy, Blue Bones, BLUB0NES, on his Twitch, on his Twitter. Another content creator. He's also one of the admins for the Open Party, which is, the Discord that we kind of run and cultivate, like a dope community. Check out his Free For All Fridays every Friday.
Yeah.
You can find me on my tag as well, Sigma Gears 9. Gonna be back later today for Super Smash Sunday. So 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come right back. We're gonna be playing Smash for 3 hours. After that, game night with the Escapists. Don't know what we're playing tonight, but you guys will find out probably around the same time I do at 8 Eastern. So that should be fun. Anything else you want to let people know about coming up?
No, that should be it. I think you've just about covered it. Thanks again for having me on.
No problem. Anytime.
Looking forward
You're
to
free. You're
Smash
welcome.
Sunday. I appreciate that, bro.
So that's gonna do it for
Let's sing these
episode
people up.
4. Thanks everybody. Bye.